Next on BYU Sports Nation, BYU basketball on a West Coast Conference rise. Is a third-place finish now realistic for the Cougars?
And which Cougar increased their draft stock the most at the Senior Bowl?
Hopefully all of them. We'll see. Welcome to BYU Sports Nation, presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. It is Monday, February 6th. Wherever and however you're connected, great to have you with us. I am Spencer Linton, teamed up once again with NFL Pro Bowl expert Jerem Jordan.
I didn't watch the second. How was it?
I watched part of the pregame and then saw highlights of some of the Pro Bowl games. It's now a plural thing.
Yeah, I saw the highlights. I saved several hours of my life.
Yeah. And that was a wise move.
Yeah.
I did it because I was on an airplane, and I was like, I may as well just kind of tune in, see what Fred Warner's doing.
I didn't see a single Fred Warner or anything. So, because you know what's not highlighted in flag football? Defense. No one cares.
It's true.
Yeah.
I did see Tyreek Hill get bodied by Jalen Ramsey, though.
Yeah, that happened.
That apparently is against the rules in flag football, but hey, whatever.
They'll give you a yellow at BYU for that.
Yes, they will.
One time, one of my teammates got like a second or third yellow card, and he just said someone else's name on our team just so he wouldn't be kicked out of intramurals.
So he showed up and said, oh, I'm this person?
Well, they were like, hey, what's your name? Because we have to, and he's like, oh, and it was a different teammate. Yep.
Gamesmanship.
Well, later that team was discovered to have a few illegal players who weren't in a BYU ward. We got kicked out in the semifinals.
I was on that team with you.
Yes, you were.
It wasn't us. We were not at fault.
Well, we're staff. We can play.
Yeah,
I don't play anymore. I'm getting too old, but I would be up for basketball or flag football. Let me know. On today's show, Rudi Williams joins the program to discuss the Cougars' strong week, big week ahead, including Gonzaga on the road. Mark Pope loves fouls. More on that. Which former Cougars wondering if he should play in the football alumni game. And golfer Zach Jones joins the program to discuss his tournament win in Arizona. Here are today's headlines.
BYU men's basketball routs Pacific 81-66, moving to a tie for third place in the West Coast Conference. The Cougars now 16-10 on the season, 6-5 in WCC play. We're led by Fousseyni Traoré and Gideon George, who both recorded double-doubles in points and rebounds. BYU forced 18 turnovers and once again took good care of the basketball, only giving it away 9 times. That's well under the Cougar season average of 15. Point guard Rudi Williams will join us in about 15 minutes.
Women's hoops loses 52-49 at San Diego in the Slim Jim Saturday. 39% shooting and 19 turnovers will do that. Cougars are still tied for third with the Toreros themselves.
BYU offensive lineman Blake Freeland started and played in a 27-10 national team win at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama on Saturday. Quarterback Jaron Hall was not present for the game and did not play after practicing last week. Puka Nacua also did not play in Saturday's game.
Number 11 men's volleyball loses in 4 at number 8, Ball State, Saturday afternoon. Mix Ramanis had 20 kills, 9 digs in the loss. BYU returns home for a pair with UC Santa Barbara this weekend.
I'll take a road split all the time against a team ranked higher than you. How about BYU women's track and field? Jenna Hutchins and Elena Ellsworth clocking top 10 times as the 22nd ranked Cougars competed at the Camel City Invitational in Winston-Salem, North Carolina on Saturday. Hutchins in the 3,000 meters finished with a time of 9 minutes, 13 seconds, 97 hundredths. Good for number 10 all-time at BYU. By the way, that was her first ever collegiate indoor meet. Good start. Ellsworth followed up Hutchins' top 10 performance with one of her own in the 800 meters elite race. The veteran out of Gilbert, Arizona, clocked in at 2 minutes, 5 seconds, 5 hundredths, finishing second overall, and that time good for 10th in program history.
Gymnastics put up a 196-475 against SUU in Cedar City Friday night. Individuals earned 7 new career highs for BYU, notably freshman Kylie Equinto with a 9.9 on vault, Lindsey Hunter with the bar score of 9.925, and Mina Margraf with a 9.925 on beam.
The team is drastically improved from about 6 weeks ago. BYU women's tennis beats Washington State 5-2 in the Cougars home opener. Marks the second win of the season for the women. BYU will host LMU and Utah State this Saturday. All rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending. Oh, we love winning Mondays. What's Trending presented by BYU Food to Go, the MVP of your next event. A West Coast rise for BYU men's basketball, who have jumped from 7th place in the WCC all the way to a tie for third after just 1 week. It took 2 home wins and some wild parity in what has become an absolute conference logjam in the middle. Every team not named Gonzaga and St. Mary's has at least 5 losses, including BYU, who at 6-5, with just 5 conference games to play, Jerem. Is BYU the 3rd best team in the West Coast Conference right now? Because they're tied for 3rd.
I'm not sure. Right now it doesn't matter as much as what it'll be in a couple of weeks. But, yeah, it's still TBD. BYU's right there, certainly, tied with LMU. You split. You beat them by more than they beat you, so I could see the argument for yeah. To me, that doesn't matter all that much. 5 games left in the regular season for BYU. Will BYU finish as the 3 seed? BYU's still going to lose a couple of games. You still have at Gonzaga on Saturday. You have at Pepperdine Thursday, which BYU should win.
Yes.
That team has 1 league win. It's been weird for BYU to play there before.
It took a miracle for Pepperdine to win that game last Saturday.
Yes, it did. Portland just absolutely blew it. They got a flagrant 1 with 0.6 seconds left, and they ended up losing in double OT. It was crazy. The fact that BYU still has a couple of losses on the schedule still, and hopefully not. Hopefully they pull off an upset somewhere at Gonzaga or St. Mary's. If they do, amazing. If they don't, it's chalk. It's whatever.
If they do, then I think they will finish in 3rd place on the conference.
Yeah, they should at that point. So there's 4 teams within a half game of each other. LMU and BYU tied for 3rd at 6-5. 5-5 Santa Clara Pacific. So, I mean, BYU could, if BYU doesn't show up at the end here and they lose more than, say, those 2 games, they don't go 3-2, they go 2-3 or worse, there's a chance they could slide all the way down to like 6.
Yes.
So the hope is that BYU can be chalky, meaning you win the games you're supposed to, and if you lose the games you're not supposed to win, that's fine. Because no one expects. Listen, Gonzaga didn't even beat St. Mary's, right? It's hard to beat St. Mary's right now in Moraga or anywhere. Lions host St. Mary's and Gonzaga are at Santa Clara Pacific still. So they've got 4 tough ones. Like, BYU has a legit shot at finishing in 3rd, which would be awesome. Honestly, if BYU finishes 3rd or 4th, I'm real happy considering how the season's gone, the ups, the downs. Last week, you're coming off a really nice week of double-digit home wins against the 3rd-place team at the time and the 4th-place team. Like, BYU did really well for itself to be tied for, 6th, and then go up to 3rd? I mean, in 1 week?
They were in 7th place.
I mean, it's great.
BYU was – we were talking about, oh, my gosh, is BYU going to be in the 7-10 game a week ago? And they took care of business at home, which we thought they would do, but it's how they did it which has us impressed, like just dominant fashion, right? Now you're tied for 3rd, and while BYU does have road games at St. Mary's and at Gonzaga this Saturday, 9-7 feels like a real possibility. And having looked at every remaining schedule for every team in conference very closely over the weekend and during a long plane ride home from Florida yesterday for me, spent a lot of time in the West Coast Conference standings, 9-7 feels like to me would guarantee BYU at least 4th place. Santa Clara is the team.
Saturday. Awesome.
Santa Clara is the team that BYU needs to worry about. Not LMU, not the LMU team that they're tied for 3rd place with right now. LMU's got a tough schedule remaining. Santa Clara has the easiest of the remaining schedules, and they beat San Francisco pretty handily over the weekend. So, yeah, the Santa Clara team right now kind of feels like they might end up in 3rd place. But, hey, I mean, given everything that's gone on, if BYU finishes top 4, yeah, it's not 3rd place, but – they were picked to finish in a tie for 3rd this year, right? So BYU is pacing for what the preseason polls were projecting them to do behind Gonzaga and St. Mary's.
Yeah, the coaches, what do they know?
Apparently they know something in this regard. Yeah, I don't know if BYU is the 3rd best team right now, but I think that they will finish as a top 4 team, and then we can we can answer that question now with some certainty. Like, yeah, they're a top 4 team, and that'd be fantastic.
They're playing towards the NIT, which is the goal. The big goal here is get into the NIT. And if you're a top 4 seed in the league, that means you're playing well enough to get near that kind of 18, 19, 20 mark for BYU. So,
yeah. 9-7 would make them 19-12 in the regular season.
Then you're going into the NIT, which is good. Our fear was that BYU would kind of blow it this last week, and then 6th seed, not NIT. Nope, they're playing better.
Yeah.
Defense is doing a nice job. They're not turning it over as much. Efficient on offense. Getting the ball into Foose. There was a stretch there against Pacific on Saturday where literally Pacific couldn't do anything against Foose. He wasn't always scoring, but they were fouling him every time. It felt like a church ball game where there's the one dude that's 6'8", and there's no one else that's like over 6'2" on the one ward, so they just keep fouling him, trying to send him to the line. Like, literally, that's what Pacific did.
Hackafoos.
Yeah, it was hackafoos, yeah. Pacific didn't send a men's basketball player to guard Foos like they didn't send women's volleyball to play BYU. Like, non-existent, and it was there. So BYU's playing better, and it's good, and it's fun, and BYU's going to roll into Vegas with a little mojo and feel like, hey, can we at least get to the semifinals in this tournament? Because that would be good for this team.
Clearly, BYU is a different team at home. So I do have a little trepidation about the game at Pepperdine on Thursday.
Ooh, really? Like a 1-10 team?
I don't want to, but it's as fickle as what if BYU lost to Pepperdine? Now they're in a situation where they could finish in 6th place, and they're playing earlier. And
there could be some weird tiebreakers there.
Yes, exactly. Like they could, that one loss, even if they beat San Francisco and Santa Clara at home, you lose to Pepperdine and you lose at Gonzaga and at St. Mary's, which are expected. You go 2-3 in the back 5. Now you're 8-8. You could slide all the way to number 6. That's how weird and fickle this thing is. That's how much of a logjam is in the middle of the conference. Is you got to take care of business against Pepperdine, or you might be in some big trouble.
This is what BYU's avoided most years, which is we're clearly top 3. We don't mess with 4, 5, 6, 7. But this year, BYU's lost a couple games that have been head scratchers in league.
Sure.
Well, I mean, LMU is good, but like losing at LMU, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Losing at Santa Clara, San Francisco, like Santa Clara, I understood. San Francisco, I did not. You don't lose that one, you're clearly number 3 right now, and you got a little bit of space.
Yeah. BYU finished 5th last year, and it was weird.
At 9-7.
It was super weird. I think 9-7 will get you at least top 4 because there's so much parity in play. Of note, St. Mary's, as they should have, jumped Gonzaga in the latest AP poll. Number 15.
Still underrated.
Are the Gales.
Still underrated.
And the Zags at number 16. I think so,
St. Mary's should be like 12. Like, they should be higher. They're awesome.
St. Mary's is a special team this year.
It's all 4 games. Yes, they have a couple quad 3 losses in there, but it's like Washington, neutral.
Fine.
They played Houston
super
super
tough.
tough.
Losses.
Yeah.
No bad loss.
Yeah.
They're 2 games up on the Zags, by the way.
2. They clinched the WCC regular season title, essentially.
It kind of feels that way.
They could still lose to Spokane, but they ain't losing to anybody else.
Let's go spoil their party again, shall we?
That'd be fun. I don't really see it right now, but that'd be fun.
That'd be fun.
Okay, topic 2. Which BYU Cougar improved their stock the most at the Senior Bowl?
I'm just going to let Cam Mellor answer that question because I think we're all in agreement here that it was clearly Puka Nacua.
Tuesday's practice is a sure thing of a draft pick. I think a lot of people were worried and concerned, obviously, about the injuries. But I do think, again, I mentioned 33% of it is what you do on the field. That 66%, 67%, if our math is correct, is him answering the questions in those decision-making rooms, those interviews with the NFL draft, the scouting departments, the gurus. It's a lot better to hear it from Puka than it would be to hear it from a representation. Basically, I think he showed enough on Tuesday to fully cement himself as a mid-day 3 pick.
Okay, those are some strong words there. Fully cement himself as a mid-day 3 pick. I think
there's no partial cement, right?
Yeah, it's cured.
You can crack it.
It is.
Just undo that. So.
Yeah, you could. I don't think Puka is going to do that. I think he's going to. I agree with Cam. I think he has vaulted himself into a mid-day 3 type scenario. I feel like going into the Senior Bowl and the practices that week, we all were kind of thinking, okay, Puka is an underrated player. We hope that he proves that, and he did. But I had him slated as like 6th, 7th, maybe a high priority undrafted free agent. And now he's going to be drafted. BYU is going to have 3 draft picks against this year, which is awesome.
It's great.
Awesome. With another offensive
awesome.
lineman. Blake Freeland's going to get drafted 2nd, 3rd round. Jaron Hall's going to go somewhere in the middle of the pack. And now Puka Nacua, in the words of Cam Mellor, who, he's a dude that knows and has been very accurate in the past. So I put a lot of stock in what Cam has to say. Now Puka's going to get drafted. BYU's going to have 3 draft picks again because Puka improved his stock the most in one practice.
Because they confirmed what they saw on film. It wasn't the games where he didn't play. The questions about Puka are related to injuries, right? And it is concerning that Jaron and Puka didn't play in the Senior Bowl game a little bit.
That's a bummer.
Where I'm like, oh, shoot. And it had to be injuries, right? Like, why else wouldn't they play in that? Because you can show off your skills. And you almost wonder, you may be asking, like, wait, what? One practice Puka elevates from sort of kind of known unknown to will be drafted? Yes, because those GMs and those coaches are confirming what they've thought, which is, oh, we've seen him in person. Look at his separation. Look at his feet. Look at his hands. All this stuff, right? Like Cam said, you're confirming what you've seen on film. It's not 66% of it. It's the 33% of like, oh, we like you. Hopefully he gets invited to the Combine in Indianapolis. We can see him run and catch some more in front of scouts and live on NFL Network. Hopefully Pro Day shows out as well if he needs to.
Yeah.
But hopefully he doesn't need to. Hopefully he's so good in Indy, if he gets the invite, that he just goes off and he doesn't have to run, per se, on the Pro Day. Although we will have the Pro Day live on BYU TV and show it off. So it's probably Puka. Blake has been on the radars. He's there. People know what he is. He did a good job in Senior Day.
I feel like he just kind of maintained.
Yeah. Jaron, I don't think hurt his stock. I don't think it helped it much. Like, yeah, he's good. He's one of the guys that will be taken on day 3. Great.
Yeah. Jaron may have taken a step back a little bit. And BYU has not confirmed this, and they won't confirm this because they have no reason to feel necessity to confirm
he's
injury
not
or not.
He's
not
not
at
BYU
BYU anymore.
Yeah.
But I have been told his ankle wasn't feeling well. Wasn't feeling great. This is
that makes sense.
Carryover from what happened with the high ankle sprain against Stanford. And this is partly precautionary.
That stinks because that was late November.
Yeah, partly precautionary.
This is like 8 or 9 weeks ago.
And partly because it just you don't want to play poorly and then hurt it potentially worse in a game that really doesn't mean that much. It's the practices that we feel mean the most. And I feel like Jaron did enough. Slow start for him in the week. Came around at the end, did not play in the game. So if he did take a step back, it's a minor step back. We just hope he gets healthy and that ankle sprain can heal up so that he can do his thing.
He can't take a step back. His ankle's not healthy.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Not great, but Puka, the power of owning one day. And he was all over social media.
Yeah.
That's the power of owning one practice.
Zach Wilson had one throw, and it cost him in his career because the Jets took him, not the Niners.
Oh, gosh.
That throw wasn't worth it. Well, it was worth it.
Yeah,
but it wasn't worth it.
How are you quantifying worth it?
Well, he's not happy right now, probably.
Our question of the day. Back to BYU basketball, who are currently tied for 3rd place in the West Coast Conference standings. Where will the Cougars finish? They were 7th place a week ago, now tied for 3rd.
It's just flying up.
At Shan Simpson on Facebook says, on paper, it looks like 4th place. But BYU is usually 3rd. BYU seems to play to the level of their opponents this season.
Well, more St. Mary's Gonzaga then. Let's go.
So a more difficult schedule might help motivate BYU to play better. I'm more concerned about what this BYU team is on the road in conference compared to what they've been at home.
Big week.
In conference.
Yeah, beat Pepperdine. They've won 1 game.
Split this week.
They're like super long and talented, blah, blah, blah. They've lost like 10 games in league. Go take care of business.
Game.
Don't flagrant one with 0.6 seconds left in double OT, and you should be fine.
Take that defense that's been so good at home on the road.
Yep, it can travel. Okay, plan to be with us tomorrow night for BYU basketball with Mark Pope as the coach, Greg Rubel, and a player. Give you a full hour of Cougar Hoops, 8:30 Eastern on the BYU TV app.
Up next, Rudi Williams of BYU men's basketball in studio. Awesome personality, and his team's playing some pretty awesome basketball. How do they take that high-level show out on the road? This is BYU Sports Nation.
Roadshow?
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by BYU Food to Go, the MVP of your next event.
Whether you want to rock your retirement on the court, on the snow, on the waves, or in the gym. At Mountain America, we're here to help you get things rolling. Learn more at macu.com/retirement. Mountain America, guiding you forward.
expert builders have been given 10 weeks to travel the world and change the lives of 10 communities in need. This resourceful team will need to bring the community together to do the impossible, one project at a time.
What's the #1 rule?
No wandering off Camp Roy.
Weird things happen in that part of the woods.
There's so much you don't know.
Put your hands up.
Rudi pulls, fires, scores. He banks in the three.
Rudi was genius night.
Put your hands up.
We are live in Studio B on a winning Monday with your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play. I'm Spencer Linton alongside Jerem Jordan. It is our pleasure now to welcome in BYU point guard and a big part of BYU's win over Pacific and wins last week altogether, for that matter. Rudi Williams is back on the show. Great to have you back in Studio B, Rudi.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
What's your typical Sunday like, especially after a big win on Saturday night?
My Sundays after the games, you know, they usually consist of a lot of laundry, a lot of phone calls from the coaches, rewatching the game, you know, pausing, rewinding, all that, my possessions. And, you know, just kind of getting my body, getting my mind ready for the next week. So
you do your own laundry?
Yes,
yeah, I feel like the freshmen should do your laundry, Rudi.
That's something I can manage. I do that on my own.
Okay.
I wish I had some freshmen at my house. Yeah, it's a busy day in the Jordan household as well that way. Last week was so good. You guys, I mean, we were talking about like a week ago, you're in 7th place. Yeah. You fly up to 3rd. Obviously, you defend home court. You play amazing defense. You don't turn it over. You win 2 big games. Like, what did last week mean to you and the team?
Last week meant a lot to us, honestly, because, you know, obviously we were in like a 3-game skid. Yeah. You know, we dropped the 2 games up in Northern Cal, and then we dropped St. Mary's, you know, pretty much at the buzzer. So it was, you know, it was a time for us to look in the mirror, and, you know, we had to see what was going to happen for the rest of the year. And, you know, we protected home court. We needed these 2 big wins, and now we got to keep this momentum going, finish our conference good, you know, heading into Vegas.
You were doing cartwheels in the locker room, and I want to point out they were pretty high-level cartwheels. Is this something you've practiced before?
I don't know. I used to be pretty flexible, and I used to be a wild child, so I don't know what made me bring it out. I started doing handstands when we got in the locker room. I don't know what was wrong with me.
There's nothing wrong with you. Yeah, it's a victory, right?
Yeah, I guess that was where it was pure instinct. Like
Rudi Williams, the gymnast?
What was the extent of sort of that? You said I was a crazy child. Like, would you climb on stuff? Or you just parkour going around as a kid? Like,
just growing up, you know, going to the park, the playground and stuff like that. Just
you're on top. Your mom's like, "Where's Rudi?" You're on top of the structure.
When you're 12 years old, you know, you're not really scared of much. You're not scared of breaking nothing. And I don't know where that came from, to be honest.
In Toronto, you're just terrorizing the parks there?
I just did it. I'm too old for that now.
You and the team played essentially fearless, especially on defense, over the last 2 games. And as Jerem mentioned, you build some momentum now to go on a key road stretch, because this team at home in conference, really good, really good. How do you take that intensity and defensive mindset on the road and manufacture that energy when you're not in front of a Marriott Center crowd?
I feel like, you know, we just got to bring the fight because, you know, like you said, when we're not in front of that Marriott crowd, we got to find something else to, you know, juice us and get us going. So, you know, we have to understand that when we're on the road, it's just us. You know, we're traveling with probably 30 people. And, you know, we have to bring our own energy, bring our own juice, and, you know, we have to get the job done. It's tough to win on the road, but, you know, I feel like we've done it before, so we can do it again.
That's not to say we can't call out all the BYU fans in Southern California to take over Firestone Fieldhouse.
I think there'll be
show up,
a couple hundred
show
there.
up.
Yeah, it'll be
BYU
good.
Sports Nation.
I wasn't just pleased. I was amused by kind of the first 6 minutes of the second half where Pacific literally couldn't guard Foose. They were just fouling him.
Yeah.
What did you think of that stretch? Because that was something.
Honestly, I remember Foose they got 4 team fouls pretty quick, and I think Foose, you know, made them commit all those fouls. So, you know, kudos to him. You know, he's such a big, strong dude. You know, guys got to pay attention to him. And, you know, I think they'd rather foul him than, you know, just give him easy layups where, you know, he shoots a high percentage. I think he's probably at the 60s. So, you know, you rather foul him than, you know, just give him easy dunks and layups.
And then he got so tired from having to work through that. Then you took over at that point. Do you sense in a game like, you know, coming off the bench, like, okay, this is the flow of this. I need to inject offensively right now. Like, you always want to score and help the team in whatever way, but are there times where you're like, oh, Foose is tired, I'm coming in for Dallin, I need to go score right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really necessarily me trying to go score. It's just, me trying to make a play. So rather if it ends up me scoring or me making a play for somebody else, I just, also have the advantage of coming in 2-3 minutes while everyone's a little bit gassed. That's the luxury I have of coming off the bench. So then I come in with a burst of energy while those guys are probably huffing and puffing because they've been in the game. And I use that to my advantage. And then it's just kind of easier. I kind of say I don't know, I guess it's a smart move by Coach Pope. But, yeah, I kind of just want to be aggressive and I assert myself. And I'm playing with an advantage as well. So.
Now, I've heard Coach Pope say previously, not necessarily after the Pacific game specifically, but a few times this season, that they almost want you to be more aggressive and attack the rim more, look for opportunities to attack the rim more. So how have you implemented that into your game? Because to Coach's point, you seem to be really good, almost your most effective when you are attacking the hoop.
Yeah, for like the past couple weeks, Coach has just been telling me, like, you got to be more aggressive, more aggressive. The other day before the LMU game, he stopped practice and he's like, I just don't feel like you're aggressive enough. So I'm just like, well, Coach, if you want me to just go attack at 1-on-5, I'll do it. But, I don't feel like that's the best shot for us. So, I've just been having to watch a lot of film and, picking and choosing where I can go score and how I can go score and stuff like that. And it's taken a lot of film sessions with Coach Fieger. But I'm starting to figure it out. And, I'm definitely going to look to be more aggressive, finishing out this conference slate.
This team's strength is on the defensive end of the floor. That hasn't always been the thing at BYU. This has kind of been an offensive school for the most part. But you guys have been top 30 consistently for the last couple weeks in efficiency. What is it that you guys are doing to be so effective to really put it on LMU and Pacific?
I would just say, it's just guys playing hard. We're starting to realize that we're gonna score, regardless if we're having a good shooting night or a poor shooting night. We're still going to score. I think we only made 7 threes on Saturday versus Pacific.
Didn't need it, right?
Yeah, we put up 81 points. Yeah. So we realized, we're going to score. We're not worried about that. We just have to put all of our focus to defense and, managing and getting a bunch of stops and getting kills because that's what gets us going and makes us score easily on the other side.
Certainly every season has some highs and lows, and this team has had some significant peaks and valleys, and you're on the rise back up. How would you define in a few words this season for BYU basketball?
Never know what you're going to get, probably. I don't know how many words that is.
It's exciting that way.
It's probably been like that. That would probably be the storyline of this season so far.
Third place now, certainly finishing in third would be really good considering, right? St. Mary's, Gonzaga, top 16 teams. What will it take in the Final Five to finish as a 3 seed or even top 4, frankly? I think top 4 going into Vegas would be pretty good.
We're definitely looking to finish higher than that. But I would say it would take just the consistency, keep understanding that every game is a big game. We're not taking no teams for granted. We're not taking any games for granted because, we've learned the hard way that if we don't show up, we will lose games. So I feel like everyone's starting to have an understanding of that. So, every Thursday and Saturday, like everyone's locked in and, we just got to bring our hard hats.
You get to go to Malibu and then to Spokane. So a couple of places, obviously, that you personally have not played yet. What do you think of the prospect of playing in Malibu right there, overlooking the beach on a beautiful campus at Pepperdine, and then going on the road to take on number 16 Gonzaga in front of the Kennel?
I'm looking forward to both. This is going to be a really fun week. But starting with Pepperdine, obviously I've never played down there. I remember seeing highlights from last season's win over there. Barcelo, I think he made 9 or 8 threes.
He was ridiculous.
He had a tendency to do that.
Yeah, he was awesome.
It looks like the rims over there are pretty generous, so hopefully we can have a good shooting night, while getting a bunch of stops over there. And then looking forward to Saturday, I know it's tough to play up there in the dog kennel, but, LMU went over there and they beat them. And, we're probably going to have to follow a little bit of their recipe, bring our hard hats, play a lot of defense, limit Gonzaga in transition. And I feel like we can go over there and beat them too as well.
Did you watch St. Mary's Gonzaga?
Saturday night, I ended up watching like the last 2 minutes of the game. And, the game went
in OT?
Yeah. So I came home and I was like, oh, shoot, this game's on. And then I watched the last 2 minutes of the game.
Mahaney had like 16 points in a 5-minute span or something.
Yeah, he's a good player.
He's a good player, right? Yeah.
How do you handle that emotionally? Because understandably, like, you had Gonzaga on the ropes and you were up 1 on St. Mary's. So when you watch that game, like, where are you emotionally?
I kind of teeter-tot back and forth, just, kind of being upset with myself, you know, just saying like maybe I could have done something just a little bit more for us to close those games out because, you know, we had both those games won, obviously. But, you know, it kind of shows that we're a good team and we can play with anybody, and any game is winnable. It doesn't matter who it is, who we're going up against. So, you know, it makes me feel a little bit sideways, but then it also makes me feel proud of myself and the guys.
Let's zoom out for just a sec, because we haven't asked you this question before. You played in the Big 12 with Kansas State. What's BYU in for next year in terms of venues and competition? Obviously, we know it's going to be crazy hard in the toughest league in America, but you played in the Big 12 for a year. We wish you had eligibility for next year. What's that going to be like for BYU and its fans?
It's going to be fun. That's one thing I can remember. It was really fun. The venues are all different, but they're all unique in their own way. All the crowds are going to be crazy. Like, I remember going down to Lubbock, Texas. Never been there a day in my life, don't know anything about it, and I enter this mega arena at Texas Tech, and it's full to the brim, you know? So it's going to be fun. You know, you're definitely going to have to show up every game because there's no nights off in the 12. The number 1 team could beat the number 10 team it was when I was there. But, yeah, so it's definitely going to be hard. But, you know, I feel like the guys are going to be ready for it. They're going to be battle-tested, and they're going to be ready. So.
And I think those teams are in for a surprise as to what Provo and the Marriott Center have to offer as well.
Yeah, for sure. You know, a lot of those teams, you know, probably have never even thought about coming here to Utah or, you know, Provo in general. So when they come here and they see how hard it is to play here, you know, this league will, I mean, this team and, you know, this arena will also be up there with, like, you know, the Kansases and the Texas Techs and the West Virginias. So.
Rudi, we appreciate the insight. Always great to have you in Studio B. You're averaging almost 16 points a game over the last 5. And let's give you some karma to keep that rolling. Take that defense with you to Malibu and get a win on Thursday.
Have fun at Pepperdine, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
You got it. Rudi Williams on BYU Sports Nation.
Okay, if you miss any conversations we have on the show, shows, games, Deep Blues, Rudi's Deep Blue, you can check it out on BYUSN.com.
As good as Mark Pope and the Cougars were on Saturday, they did fall just short of a milestone. But is this milestone they want anything to do with? This is BYU Sports Nation.
That's another foul.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork offers a large inventory of Ford vehicles, including a selection of cars and trucks, providing a range of transportation choices. From the Ford Fusion sedan and the Edge crossover SUV to a range of pickups including the F-150. Each product line comes with options to enhance performance, comfort, and safety. Think Ford, think Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork.
Utah is a special place. Our communities, the people, the history. There is no place quite like Utah. At Siegfried and Jensen, we're honored to say that we are from Utah. We live here, work here, and when someone is injured, we're proud to say we've helped a neighbor when they've needed it most. We know Utah. At Siegfried and Jensen, we're here for you.
Learn more at siegfriedandjensen.com.
If you're looking to build your brand awareness and increase market share as BYU moves into the Big 12, this is the place, BYU Athletics. We can provide the tools you need to make sure your company is seen and heard. BYU Athletics is where you can align your products and services with loyal fans that cheer for our Cougars. And they can also help your business win. Learn more about what a partnership with BYU Athletics and your company will look like. After all, this is the place. Email sponsorship at byu.edu today.
You know, the passion that the BYU fans bring, it is unique. The fans, they contribute so much to our team and help our players kind of get refocused. The fans are so close that they feel a part of the team. It's really a benefit to our guys. They mean everything to our program. Men's volleyball, it is about the fans.
Make sure to follow the show, BYU Sports Nation. That's the name of this program. Hi, Jeremy. On social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
Hello there, friends, and welcome. Wow, Rudi Williams is great. BYU basketball is rolling. Do you know what would make things even better? We whip it. Cougar Whip Round presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.
In the BYU Pacific game, there were a combined 49 fouls called. Mark Pope was hoping for more.
All while almost setting an all-time record for the history of college basketball. We were committed to get to 50 fouls tonight. I talked to Coach before the game, and we made an agreement. We only got to 49, so I'm really upset about that, but everything else was terrific.
Were you hoping for one more, like Mark?
No. In fact, it was so bad in the second half when both teams were in the double bonus with over 10 minutes to play that yours truly was like, you know, I'm just going to keep an eye on the Portland Pepperdine game because BYU plays Pepperdine next, and Pepperdine might actually win. So I had two screens going, and I was, if I'm being completely honest, I was paying more attention to what was happening between Pepperdine and Portland because BYU's up 20+, and there were so many fouls.
Yeah, St. Mary's Gonzaga had started that. So, yeah.
49 fouls is ridiculous.
There was another game a couple years ago where that happened. Didn't quite get to 50, but very exciting.
I called a women's basketball game a few years back that got to, I think, 53, which was just
compelling and rich.
Special.
It really needed to take the quota off the refs for fouls called, like tickets for cops.
Good grief.
Shout out to the, what was the dude, the Manaway cop?
Oh, yeah, RoboCop.
RoboCop in Manaway. If you know, you know, in Sardine Canyon. There.
I believe he's been relieved of his duties, Jerem. That's not a lie.
Yeah.
Some weird things were happening in Manaway.
Yeah, that includes like VHS or something, DVD. I don't know.
Shout out to Manaway people.
Allegedly.
Hey, go. On to football now, and the NFL specifically. Now that Fred Warner got some key flag football reps in with the
more of this
Pro Bowl games. What are the odds of him playing in the alumni game
in
March?
0. No, why would he play in the game? I'm just hoping Fred's around. I think that'd be really
Get
fun.
him here.
Yeah, just have him here.
That'd be super
he ain't
fun.
Playing? No way.
Here's our official invitation to you, Fred. You don't have to play. Why don't you come be an assistant coach?
I doubt the Niners would even allow it.
Come be an assistant coach.
Yeah. Speaking of the alumni game, Derwin Gray tweeted the following. Hey, BYU football fans, should I play in the alumni game on March 31st or not? At Jack DeMoon. Should Dewey play in the alumni game?
If Dewey wants to play, sure. Why not? He's 51. If he's feeling like a sprightly 51, like he can go out and play, sure. If he wants to play, let him play. We'll see.
Last year, it turned into a younger man's game. I almost felt bad because there were certain alumni on the sideline that were like, wanted to get in and ready, but the 30-somethings
they became too competitive.
Were very competitive in this game, and it starts with Max being Max and playbooks on both. Like Will Snowden showed up and he had a legit playbook. So did Max Hull. They were ready to go. These guys call plays.
Yeah, not every 50+ looks and plays like Terrell Owens. Okay. Yeah.
In fact, they're nobody.
T.O.'s a specimen, right?
Yeah. So yes, it'd be fun, but it got real fast and competitive last year.
Okay. Maybe there should be age group quarters. If you're 50, okay, first quarter we'll go with the young guys. Second quarter's 45+.
Like riddle me this: if BYU got Steve Young and Ty Detmer to like be the quarterbacks,
totally fine.
The arms aren't the same as they were. Do you want that? Like, I know it'd be fun to have them out there, but if Steve can't, can Steve still chuck it? Maybe he can.
I want star power. And they don't have to run around as much. Like, the quarterbacks are protected to a degree in this game.
It's flag football.
So, like, you can be older and play quarterback, and it's not like playing wide receiver at 55 years old.
But what was fun in this game was seeing Aleva Hifo catch like a 50-yard pass.
Sure.
It wasn't dumping it underneath for 5 to 7 yards.
That'd be fun to see Aleva Hifo catch a 50-yard pass from Steve Young, right?
Well, is Steve chucking it 50 in the air like that? You know what I mean?
I believe he can still do that.
If he can, that's great. If he can't, I don't want to see him out there like that. You know what I mean? I want to keep Steve in my mind, certainly.
All right. More from Steve Young in just a minute. Yeah. BYU men's volleyball has split their last 2 series on the road, both against higher-ranked teams. Most recently, they split with Ball State. Is this team overachieving, Jerem?
No, I think they're on pace for the improvement we were hoping for. I think those splits were quality.
Irvine and Ball State?
To get 2 in each one would have been ambitious, I think. But yeah, UC Santa Barbara comes in this weekend, which they're 2-7, but they've played 8 of 9 against top 10 teams. Really good competition there. Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting weekend. It'll be fun.
I feel like BYU's a top 10 team. Probably at 9 or 10.
I think they should slide to I'll probably vote them at 10 today in the media poll.
Yeah. Let's go. Unranked to number 10. It's qualified, I know. I know. There are only like 50 teams in college.
They've really done
it. Hey, top 20% right now.
They really did it, Bob. This picture was taken over the weekend with Brother Young, Alex Smith, and Aaron Rodgers at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Steve tweeted that it's a heated debate with Alex and Aaron on skipping the 14th hole to go get some in and out. What do you think they were discussing? Wrong answers only.
You see, Aaron, here's how you throw 6 touchdowns in a Super Bowl compared to just the 3 that you threw when the Packers won back in 2010.
Here's how you get to another Super Bowl.
Here's how you double the touchdown passes, because Steve set the Super Bowl record. So something of that sort. How to throw 6 touchdown passes in a Super Bowl.
I think they were talking about Zach Wilson.
That's very.
Aaron Rodgers,
I guarantee
Jets,
that was
Alex
discussed.
Smith as an analyst.
100% guarantee that was discussed, especially if Aaron ends up with the Jets.
It's not a wrong answer only. I guess that's my real answer.
An actual answer?
There you go.
Up next, a young man coming off a career performance.
Oh, he's got the trophy with him.
Getting ready for a trip to Hawaii.
Hey.
Zach Jones of BYU Men's Golf in studio next. Yeah, show off that bling. This is BYU Sports Nation.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.
Trio Orem Senior Living believes in empowering seniors to live life to the fullest. We help eliminate stress out of daily life when you live at Trio. Less time focusing on housework means you can socialize at one of our many events, with safety in mind, of course. And did we mention our spacious apartments with modern amenities? Learn more about setting up a private tour at trioorem.com.
Today was a great day.
You're going to feel the energy of all these volunteers.
I'm excited to get out into the world and see who else is making good.
And you're going to meet some of the most amazing people.
And we will all just lift each other up.
What we do is we create memories for families.
And you realize just how good people are.
It does take a village.
It's definitely been a journey.
Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation. We are live in studio for you. We got some new bling.
The Wildcat, you got some cactus on there.
Thunderbirds Intercollegiate Individual Champion, Zach Jones.
That thing's heavy, man. It's a little Wildcat-y for me, I'm going to be honest.
Awesome. Hey, welcome to the show, man. Congratulations on the win.
Thanks. Yeah, it's awesome. Good to be here. It's pretty heavy. Carrying that through the airport it's a good problem to have. But
hey, everyone. Hey, everyone.
Hey, let me get my carry-on.
You just set it out. Yeah, real metal. It's going to trigger that. Yeah,
that's great. It's fun. Rounds of 65, 69, and 66. Really impressive.
Not bad, dude.
I'm always super impressed with guys that are able to close things out in a pressure-packed scenario.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing to play well and be like, oh, I'll finish top 20, but when you're at the top of the leaderboard and you're handling that pressure, there's something special there. So how did you handle the pressure, especially on day 3, knowing like I could win this thing?
No, yeah, I mean, I think the pressure is why we play the sports, you know, being in that scenario. And especially it being really my first time being in contention in a college event, it was definitely a new situation for me. But I think it just goes back to, you know, all the tournaments I've played growing up, playing with my brothers as a kid. We'd always just try to do whatever we could to make pressure situations so that we'd be prepared for it when coming down the stretch in a tournament. So that's why we play golf, feeling the nerves, feeling the pressure, and it was fun.
So you felt prepared for that moment?
I did, yeah. I mean, playing in Utah golf is very competitive. We got a lot of good tournaments here. A lot of the kids on the BYU team, we grew up playing high school golf together. So just playing tournaments, playing golf really prepares you for those situations, and I was able to handle it well.
Well, and there's a camera on you, albeit it's Todd Miller's camera.
Yeah.
Filming you make your winning putt. But
Yeah.
What's it like to have your coach there on the green with you as you finish that high-pressure round out?
It's awesome. I mean, especially growing up, Todd, recruits you young age. You get to meet him, get to know him, and then he's so knowledgeable in the game of golf. He's been around it with his dad, Johnny Miller. He played golf at BYU as well. He's seen Peter Quest win 10 times at BYU. I mean, he just knows the game. He knows how to handle that situation. He was on the bag with me all 3 rounds, kind of walking with me, hitting shots, talking through it. So having him there, I mean, he's a huge asset to BYU golf. And having him there right at the end, filming the putts, watching them all go in, helped me with the reads. It was awesome, and he's a great coach.
I told him I was going to put a plug in for him to get a raise. So, I mean, just with that said, it's time to give Todd Miller a raise.
This is the moment for that?
Yeah.
Okay, then. You had been really good and competitive, but you hadn't finished top 10. To get into the top 10 and then not just be top 10, but win,
yeah.
What was that experience like for you to go, okay, now I win this thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. If you look at the way my college golf career has been, it's a little bit unique. I kind of had a little bit of a frustrating freshman year, not really meeting my expectations. I had high expectations, but didn't really perform that well my freshman year. And then I've been playing great in the qualifyings in the fall. I've got in every event, but I haven't even taken a top 15 yet in a college event. So it's been a little bit of some frustration. I've had some success locally in Utah, but college golf is just a different animal with the travel, the team aspect. So it's been tough for me to really put a tournament together. So it's really surprising for other people to see someone who's never taken top 15 just win their first time in contention. But for me, I think I can win these tournaments, and I felt like I was prepared. But it's definitely, a little unique to go out and win your first one that you're ever in contention. So it was an awesome experience, and I hope to be in contention a lot more often.
Zach Jones is the Thunderbirds Intercollegiate Individual Champion. He's with us on BYU Sports Nation. I appreciate golfers and their attention to detail in every shot they hit. You ask them after a round, and they can just rewind to like this moment. Oh, my third shot on number 8 was from 167 yards away. I had this club.
This is what I used.
This is the approach.
This is my read.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, what was the best shot you hit in this tournament championship?
I mean, there was a lot of good shots. Hole 10 specifically, I feel like I saved a lot of shots. I chipped in for birdie one round, made a 70-footer for eagle the other rounds, and then made a 30-footer for birdie the final round coming down the stretch. But I feel like the main shot that I would look back to is my second shot, approach shot on number 2, just because I was finishing. My last hole is number 4, so this is coming down the stretch.
Okay.
Number 2 is the hardest hole.
Your
on the course.
staggered starts because it's tournament play.
Just past the scoreboard, see that I've got a 3-shot lead, so I really just have to hold on at this point. And this is the hardest hole on the course. And like you said, can remember every detail. I was 216 to the pin. We were trying to fly it around 210. Normally down there in Tucson, that's like a 6-iron or a 5-iron. But I could just tell I was really amped up, a lot of adrenaline. So I told Todd, I was like, I think I got to hit a 7-iron. And he was like, really, 7-iron? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I've been here before. A lot of times I'll fly the green when I'm amped. And I hit a 7-iron from 220, and it bounced up to 15 feet, and I just cozied it up for a little 2-putt par. And that was kind of when I locked in the tournament. So that was probably the most memorable shot. The experience kind of came back and knew that I was amped, could feel I was going to hit a little extra far, and so hit that shot in the middle of the green and kind of sealed it up.
This is what I'm talking about.
That's amazing.
This is what I'm talking about.
The detail's amazing, and then I'm also amazed that you could read your own vibe. Yeah. I'm amped right now. I'm clubbing down to 7, right? Like, that's awesome.
No, yeah, other sports you get amped up and you're like, I'm just going to use the football. You're like, I'm just going to use this to hustle harder. I'm going to play harder.
To hit harder.
But when your hands you're pumped with blood and your hands are shaking in a golf tournament, that's not good. You're going to be hitting it farther. You're not getting a good touch. So
no, that's awesome.
You got to adapt to it. You got to learn to control your heart rate a little bit too and slow down your breathing and focus in on what you're trying to do. So
that's amazing.
You have, and you had, I should say, opportunities to go play golf at a lot of places. BYU is, in the golf community, it's a winter place.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did they overcome that as a program? And what are you doing right now to stay relevant in a place that typically, you know, is not like Malibu, obviously, or Arizona and these year-round golf places.
I think it's hard to go from a warm weather state to come here and play golf, but growing up here, I'm from Highland, Utah, Lone Peak High School. You know, we're used to having cold, long winters. One of the biggest advantages is BYU's got a practice facility over at Fox Hollow Golf Course. We get a hit in the IPF. We really get to stay sharp during the winters. We got the technology that you know, all the top-level schools have. We've got all the access to what we need. And St. George, too, is a big advantage, being just a 3.5-hour drive.
It's a hidden gem.
It really is. So we sneak down there.
Not as hidden as it used to be.
It's definitely not. It's hard to get tee times down there, but we drive down, try to play golf, play in the tournaments. There's lots of tournaments in the winter down there. Just try to stay sharp. So I don't think it's a huge disadvantage being at BYU, and I think there's a lot of advantages that come to being at BYU.
And then I love, too, that obviously there's guys on the PGA Tour and that have been in the PGA Tour that are around. Like Tony comes down and hangs out. Obviously, Daniel Summerhay has been involved as a coach. You know,
Mike Weir's around at times.
No, I was hitting balls with Peter Quest, Patrick Fishburne, just the other day right before the tournament.
They come and hang out. Like,
they come and hit with us.
That sort of tangible goal setting of like, hey, they did it. They were just here. Yeah. Obviously, Mike Weir hangs out. It's like, hey, dude won the Masters. Like, he was here. What role does that play for a young guy like you where you're like, hey, I could be that guy?
No, yeah, it's for sure a big boost in your confidence when you see those guys playing with you. You see the trails that they took, and you try to follow in their footsteps. I mean, BYU's got a lot of PGA Tour players that have come out of here, and a lot of guys that are on the road right now, like Peter Quest and Patrick Fishburne, even Carson Lundell, our teammate. So there's a lot of good players that have come out of BYU, and there's no reason you can't, you know, make the PGA Tour coming out of Utah.
Is it required to have like frothy hair to be on the team? Because that's like
Carson's
the look,
Carson's got it going,
That's the look for the team. I love it.
Yeah, it's kind of a trend, little golfer's trend.
Yeah.
Pete Quest had it going too.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Zach, a couple quick hitters. True or false, Pepperdine is your #1 rival right now?
I think they've got to be. I mean, they're the team to beat. They've been the team to beat for a couple years. There are a lot of good players there. So, yeah, that's for sure.
Okay.
We got our sights set on them.
And then Big 12 golf. Just some quick thoughts on what lies ahead for BYU there.
Yeah, I mean, golf's a little different because you don't play with your conference every tournament. You play in the tournaments you get invited into. But our conference championship will be somewhere back east, Texas, or you know, somewhere else. So we're going to try to get into a couple more events over there. We're used to playing West Coast golf all the time. It's a little different animal over there. So it's pretty much the same. You get in the tournaments you want to during the year, and then conference championship, we'll have some bigger schools in there, but it's exciting.
Great stuff. Well done again. Thanks for hanging out with us. Congratulations.
And the old school like BYU golf logo is nice.
So
you got double logo. It looks good. It looks good. Okay, well, women's hoops coming back to town, taking on Pepperdine. Big game, tied for 3rd in the league. BYU got to get that high seed. 9 Eastern time on BYU TV Thursday night.
And a rising shout out to one of our own who's been a part of really your fandom, whether you knew it or not, for the last 30-plus years. This is BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
This is where we dominate. Our playground, place of business. This is our promised land, where we seek to find ourselves. And we're here to make sure the spaces our best prove themselves on appear how they should. Intermountain Healthcare, official medical provider for BYU Athletics.
Quick crack. Wash all you want. Don't drive dirty.
Before I was a coach at BYU, or before I was even a player, I was a BYU fan.
We've got great energy as a team, but we have even better energy because of our fans, and it's absolutely magical.
When you hear the crowd roar, that makes it more exciting, more of an adrenaline rush.
The roar of the crowd, you can feel it on the floor, you can feel that energy, and it's unlike anywhere else in the country.
BYU Sports, it's all about the fans.
My whole life People have been telling me what I could do and couldn't do. I've always listened to them, believed in what they said. I don't want to do that anymore.
In this lifetime, you don't have to prove nothing to nobody except yourself. What are you doing? You treat me like your brother, man.
You were born to wear that jacket.
You ready, champ? I've been ready for this my whole life.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics.
BYU Sports Nation and Foos Flexing are on demand. Download the free BYU TV and BYU Radio app. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast.
It's really simple. We'd appreciate it. And I am happy to report, okay, I'm not happy, but I am reporting that all has returned to normal in our BYU Sports Nation fantasy basketball results.
I just saw that I won.
Jarom wins by a mere 30.
just we'll go double up here.
You win by a mere 30.
Barely got it.
Yeah, woo, sneaking by.
Yep.
8-1. I believe you've locked up the season now.
Had to have.
Yeah.
I think it's been a couple weeks.
Yeah.
You did this in football at week 7.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so similar.
Yeah.
8-1.
Yeah.
At least I didn't have to wait till the final week. I'm glad I was
sweating it out?
Yeah, I wasn't sweating it out. I got my one.
Do I just mail it in the rest of the week?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and just drop everyone.
You just win every week. I'm like, whatever. Yeah, I'm tanking.
Oh, great stuff. Lauren Gustin once again leading the charge. And Foos was amazing, right?
Yeah.
Foos is just piling up points. Stat sheet stuffer. On to our question of the day. BYU basketball is currently tied for third in the West Coast Conference standings. Speaking of the men, because the women are tied for third too. Where will the men finish? Caleb McKay on Twitter says, definitely second. After BYU wins out and Gonzaga loses a few more?
No.
No. Gonzaga's lost 2.
Yeah.
BYU has 5 losses. Yeah. BYU's going to win the national championship.
That's not the elite
in
voice
football before that happens.
Thank you, but no.
Our elite voice of the day presented by PAX. Healthcare Elevated. Jared Hokinson on Facebook says, or Hawkinson, I should say. Or is it Hokinson? Now I'm confused. It's Hokinson. If they keep playing like they did last week, third place in the regular season, would love to see them make an amazing final run in the West Coast Conference tournament.
That'd be great.
Today's Rise and Shout Out presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics. Let's collectively give it to our longtime friend and amazing broadcast guru here at BYU, Russ Merrill. After 30 years of elite effort and having directed so many of the sporting events that you have enjoyed and watched, he is retiring. We love Russ and are going to miss him so much.
I'm emotional about it, honestly. Like, we've done so many games with Russ. We love Russ. He does such a great job. Did his last game Saturday. We're celebrating him here in a few minutes in the break room. Love you, Russ.
Oh, Russ. Man, I enjoyed traveling with him.
I don't know what to do without Russ here. It's like, we've always had Russ. It's going to be crazy to not have him.
We love you, man. Congratulations on a fantastic career. Thanks to today's guests, Rudi Williams and Zach Jones of BYU Men's Golf.
Sorry to Dennis. We ran out of time.
For Jarom, I am Spencer. Let's shout out to Keena Young. It's been a while for that. We'll see you tomorrow on BYU Sports Nation. Go Cougs.